Hey, it's JC. Welcome to Urban Knife Guy, where we explore the urban lifestyle and jungle survival. We're in the jungle once again, and today I've got something special for you Swiss Army knife fans. I brought a few SAKs out, and we're going to see how practical Swiss Army knives are for bushcraft. We'll do some simple bushcraft tasks and see if they'll really be useful. So let's get to camp and let's get started. When it comes to Swiss Army knives for bushcraft, I think the general consensus are you obviously need the main knife and you need a saw. And the other tools are basically bonuses or really depends on your activities. But here's some popular models for Swiss Army knives for bushcraft and the outdoors. This is the Huntsman. It's got the main blade, the two Phillips head screwdriver and can opener, bottle opener combination, and then you have the pair of scissors and a saw, and of course you have a corkscrew. There is the Fieldmaster, which has a Phillips head screwdriver on the back instead of this corkscrew, so that's a very popular model. I like the Camper, which is a bit smaller. I do like to carry the Swiss Army knife in my pocket when I do bring it out, so I want it as thin as possible. This is basically very similar to the Fieldmaster, but it's got no scissors, and I've got custom micarta scales over here. This is the Forester. It's a 111mm Swiss Army knife. These are 91mm, so this is much bigger. It's also got a one-handed blade, which is good, and it's got a straight edge blade. There is also a saw. Many people like this size because it's good for more heavy duty work, especially when you're at the outdoors. And there's a corkscrew over here, and you can put some of these additional tools. I've got a ferro rod and some tinder, so all very useful for the outdoors. This is the Soldier, a very popular model as well. It's virtually identical to the Forester, except it's a combo blade. There's a serrated blade and a straight edge, so serrated blade to cut fibrous items or to cut rope, and also has that liner lock. It's got a saw, but the back tool isn't the corkscrew, it's a Phillips head screwdriver. So these are just some of the very popular options for Swiss Army knives. So what we're going to do today is to maybe do some very simple bushcraft tasks. We want to ultimately boil water, so let's build a kind of a pot stand, and then we have to process some wood and set a fire. So let's see how that goes. As luck would have it, we are being rained out. It started to pour. Luckily, we have our tarp shelter set up, so we are in the shelter just a bit, but you can see it is pouring. Typical tropical jungle rain. Everything is wet. Now, luckily, we managed to collect some wood before it started raining. So we're going to change our plans a bit. We're going to try to process this wood under the shelter, and we'll start a fire, and we'll use this kind of a wood stove with the canteen, and we'll use that giant leaf as a base. We'll do some feather sticks with this particular piece of wood, and then we'll see if we can actually start a fire with a ferro rod. Let's see what happens. So we're going to try to start the fire, and I'm going to use the micro ferro rod over here, and I'm going to break up the tinder, which is in the corkscrew over here, and later I'll use the saw to strike the ferro rod. So let's break up the tinder first. So we have a combination of cotton and wax on the outside, which will hopefully hold the flame long enough for the feather sticks and the smaller twigs to catch fire. Let's see if we can light this. So we've got the fire going. Now we can put the canteen on top. So a bit on a slope. That should be fine. Add in our water. Let's get that to boil and maybe we can make a drink. Alright, I'll give you my thoughts on the Swiss Army knives for bushcraft right after this. So here are my thoughts on using a Swiss Army knife for bushcraft. Well, I should mention that off camera we did try the different knives for different things, so I have some comments about these knives as well. Let's talk about the Soldier. So the Soldier has a serrated blade but also has a straight edge blade. But take note, this is a chisel grind. So when it came to feather sticking and doing some of the other work, it just didn't feel as good as the traditional V grind that the Forester has or the 91mm Swiss Army knives has. So I think that's an important point. Just take note, if you're using the Soldier, that grind is something you either have to get used to or you need to learn in order to be more effective with it. If not, I would say stick to something like the Forester or the regular 91mm knives. In terms of the saw, we didn't get to try it this time on camera, but we've definitely used Swiss Army knife saws in general and absolutely no problem cutting smaller pieces of wood. Now they can cut bigger pieces of wood, let's say maybe 1/2 inches or more, but it will take time. Obviously something like a silky saw would be a better choice. But we are talking about small branches, anything 1 inch and below, you can effectively use the saws. For the other components, I would say in terms of size, definitely the bigger the handle and bigger the blade, the more effective it is and easier to use compared to the smaller 91mm. Now, I would never use just a Swiss Army knife out in the field myself. It is a complementary tool, so I would definitely want to have a fixed blade and maybe a silky saw in order to process the larger pieces of wood. Now, to assist in finer work, yes, you can of course do it. You can use this for feather sticking, although I would say a fixed blade definitely would be more comfortable, but it can be done. And in terms of starting a fire, that tinder and ferro rod does work. You need to get kind of used to the small ferro rod because it's so small. You have to pinch it and then just pull it off the back of the saw, and it does slide quite easily as you saw in that video. Overall, the Swiss Army knife is a good companion for your bushcrafting task, but I would think of it as a secondary or third knife to complement your bigger knife system. I wouldn't want to just come out into the jungle with a Swiss Army knife to do all my work. While it might be able to do the work, it's going to take a lot of effort, it's not efficient, and you will get tired. Well, those are my thoughts on the Swiss Army knife and how practical they are for bushcraft. But what do you think? Do you bring out a Swiss Army knife for your bushcrafting needs? Do you rely on it heavily, or is it just a companion knife to your fixed blade and other knife systems? Do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you like the content in general, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.